Hi there, my name is Jennifer Howarth. I'm the product manager here at Cydia, and our mission is to help you make better cyber risk decisions. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to manage risk within the platform in this video, and I'm going to assume that you have already conducted a top-down risk assessment within the platform. So if you haven't got that far, please check out our other how-to videos. I've already clicked on the risk assessment. So was my first risk assessment. So if you're on this view, you would need to click on the risk assessment, and this contains all of the risks on the risk register, which is down here, and then also the loss exceedance curve, which is up here. At the moment, the loss exceedance curve has one line, this red line. And that's because we don't have controls yet. We're not managing the risk. So this live risk represents the raw risk or the inherent risk, the risk that's not been mitigated yet. So when you want to start managing risk, you need to add something called controls. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to click here where it says suggested controls. Now in this list, I can choose controls from a framework to add here. We've suggested ISO in this case, and Cydia normally recommends ISO because it's low enough level and it is a true control framework. So it's giving you out of the box controls. So these are all the suggested controls that mitigate the risks that are on my risk assessment. So they're already ticked, so there's nothing to do there. But I'm also going to tick this box at the bottom here. This is to say, do you want to apply the suggested modifiers? Modifiers are the object in the platform that links controls and risks and also reduces that risk by a certain amount. In previous videos, we've quantified the risk, and when we now add the suggested modifiers, we will reduce that risk. And that can happen both in the frequency domain, reducing how likely something that is to happen, or on the consequence angle, so reducing the financial impact of the risk. So I'm going to click confirm on that now. Okay, now in the risk assessment, I've got my risk register and I've also got these controls that are linked here. So I can have a look at this control and see that the suggested modifiers have been applied. We have created the background for this based on our consultants and their experience of how much this management of technical vulnerabilities helps reduce the risk of getting a critical vulnerability exploited. If you disagree with what we have here, you can add your own fields, you can add a note here, anything you would like to add. Let's go up and look at the loss exceedance curve now. I now can add a new line to the curve, which is projected risk, which is this blue line here. The idea here is that with this would be my risk that's faced by my organisation if I'd implemented all the controls that I've got planned. When we added the controls to the risk assessment and our risk management plan, so let's go and take a look at our risk management plan and work with our controls. Firstly, I'm going to go into this first control, access rights, and here I can edit this control. And it's got everything you would expect, a name, a description, what framework it's connected to. It's got a strategy, so this is treating risk rather than transferring risk, which would be something like cyber insurance. Tolerate would mean that you're not going to kind of do anything about the risk, but that you're happy to accept it as it is. And terminate, it would be a control that you no longer need. I can assign myself as an owner here, I can also set the status to live. We have access rights, so I'm going to create that as live, and I'm going to put that as today's date there. You can add target maturity if you wish, but for now, I'm not looking at that. I'm also going to set the review date for 3 months' time, as that's kind of in line with our policy. I could also add our policy here because we can link to an external URL. So that could be a policy file or a evidence folder in a SharePoint or Google Drive. And also we use Okta for access control, and I'm just going to put a guess as how much annually that would cost my organisation. And I will click update here to update that control. So now that I've populated my control data, I can see here the link scenarios. So the access rights are mitigating this data breach corporate risk here. And now that I have this control live, if I go back to the risk assessment, I should see a difference in these lines. I'll need to make a few more live to see that difference, so let me do that now. I'm going to do that by selecting multiple controls at the same time and then clicking edit controls, and I'm going to set these to live. I can also assign the owner and the live date here and update the selected controls. Now when I go back to the risk assessment, you can see that now we have our unmodified risk. So this is our unmitigated inherent risk, which is the black line. Now we've got our red line, which shows the live risk, what risk is our organisation currently facing, and then the blue line, which is the planned controls line. And really what we need here is to understand the risk tolerance. So you can click up here to add your risk tolerance and have a session with your senior leadership team to decide how much risk they can tolerate. I'm just going to populate this. So here I've populated the risk tolerance. As you can see that this organisation can tolerate losing £1,000, but they really can't tolerate losing 10 million as that was this company's revenue. So I'm going to save that there. So you can see our current controls are doing quite a good job here, because anything below 10k we've mitigated that nicely, but it's this top end here we've still got some work to do. And you can see that our plan controls are actually quite nicely aligning with the risk tolerance curve. So once we'd implemented our plan controls, our board members would be happy with where our risk is as an organisation. Now I'm going to go back to the risk management plan to show you some final features of controls. Now I'm going to filter on the risk management plan by status, and I want to look at anything with a blank status, as these are the controls I need to work on. In particular, I'm going to look at the information backup control and edit this by clicking on these 3 dots. Here I want to put the status to in progress, as we're implementing a process for this now. Click update. I now want to assign actions so that this control will get implemented. So I would click here and click add actions. So I've added an action here to define the information backup policy. I'm going to assign that to me as the owner and give me a due date for the end of next week. I can also add another action, as I know I want to implement information backup. And I can assign that to an IT manager or a user in the system and give them a due date in 3 months' time. I can then go and mark my action as complete later. Thanks for watching.